for a lot of years, it feels like we've talked to you about
Yeah.
having a pretty experienced room, guys who've played a lot of football, Rashard, Jalen, Reese, we could go down the list, Taiwan.
Yeah.
Now you kind of got a room that maybe has some guys with some experience, but maybe figuring things out here. Obviously, some younger guys you've worked with before, but maybe haven't played as much at the college level. What's different? Do you harken back to maybe some experiences from when you had young rooms kind of earlier in your time here, and just kind of maybe what's different from the way you've approached that room the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This is the first time in a long time where we haven't had anybody who has actually come back with Indiana experience. And so you start all over because although you have some guys who transferred in from other universities who played, a fair amount, they're learning our terminology, how we do things, how we communicate. And so you start from the very beginning. This is a football. This is where you line up. And then you get into not only knowing the schemes and the checks, but start thinking out the game how we want you to think it out, how Coach G thinks it out. Why are we calling this? When are we calling this? So it is a little bit different because, over the past, 4 or 5 years, I've had guys who have come back with some type of experience. And it's great for me to go back to the fundamentals of coaching. And at the end of the day, coaching is what? The corrections of errors and teaching. And so it's been a great deal for me to do that. And I have a really good room, guys who want to learn. And it's kind of crazy because you bring these guys from different universities who have, had different goals. And how do you get this group to be cohesive? And I'll tell you, this summer has been probably one of the best summers, not a lot of issues. And so kudos to those guys. We got a long ways to go, but excited for the future.
Hey, Coach. JoJo Johnson's a guy you guys got in this got like after spring ball, didn't get in until right before fall camp. I know it's early, but just what have you seen from him? What do you like from him? Week and a half into camp.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about JoJo, he has all the athletic tools. You know what I mean? And so the unfortunate thing, he had to finish up some classes there, and he got in a little late. But right now, we got plenty of time. We're going to spend extra time just getting the playbook and understanding. And that lets guys know how crucial summertime is, you know what I mean, and just being around the team. But really, really excited about his potential. You know what I mean? He's got great athletic ability. I believe went to Notre Dame out of high school. And so he's a very, very talented young man when it comes to the athletic part of it. Now we try to get it to where he can play fast, he can think, he can go out there and make the checks, be confident in what we're doing. And that's where we're at right now. So I expect for him to be a contributor this year and help us meet our goals.
Sammy the mic. Coach, takeaways is one of your 3 pillars on defense, and you kind of struggled getting them over the last 2 years. What is the defense, and especially the corners, doing to get back to that 2020, 2019 level of takeaways?
Well, I think a little bit of it is making it where our checks are simple, where these guys can play fast. That 2020 year, I mean, if you go back and you look at the calls that Coach Womack called, they pretty much stayed the same. And we knew where the challenges were. We knew how offenses were going to try to attack that. And so guys could get their eyes where they needed to be. And so that's what we're trying to get to right now is where are my eyes, what am I thinking, and make sure that our checks aren't all over the place. We got to group them better. We got to do that better as a coaching, and we've done that this offseason. So hopefully these guys understand that the things that were challenging a year ago, we've made it a lot simpler. We've made it where they can go out there and they see this particular picture, they can make a check, it won't change, and then they know where the challenges are. And so it ain't changing every week. And then that's another thing too. That 2020 year was a special year, but things didn't change from week in and week out. You know what I mean? We came in Monday. You knew what we were going to call them, first, second down, and we had to tweak things here or there. But for the overall concept of that particular defense, stayed the same. And so we're trying to get it back there. I think we're close, and we're working hard to make these guys so they can play fast. And I think this day and age, these offenses, they do so many different things, so many formations, they shift, motion, and move. You can't make it difficult. And so we want these guys to relax and run around and do what they've been blessed to do, and that's play football. So that's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
When you're kind of rebooting the room and you have a competition, you're bringing guys in at different times, do you view it as like, is it more, are you looking at going to be playing multiple guys, or, I mean, do you think you can have 2 guys like elevate themselves to, get the majority of reps? How do you view the competition and kind of the process? You got a scrimmage coming up. Like, are you really rotating reps with the ones? Like, how are you approaching it from that standpoint?
Well, I don't think this day and age two people can play a football game. I think the season is too long. People get beat up, you can get hurt. And so, I've been here for a long time, and very rarely has two corners played the entire, season. In this conference, it's tough. You got to tackle, right? And so you have to prepare for, your ones, twos, and threes. And then you have to rotate them so they're not always with the same person. It's about chemistry, right? Where I lack, you pick up. And so the safeties have to see the chemistry. The other corners have to see the chemistry. And so to answer your question, we got to mix and match. And so the best two people are going to play. And they understand that. And so it's a true competition. It's a development deal. Just because you started with the ones, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end with the ones. The two best gentlemen will go out there on September 2nd. The two best guys who are going to allow us to compete at a high level are going to go out there. With that being said, though, the twos and threes have to be ready to go, because there's going to be a time when somebody's going to get nicked up, somebody get tired. And so the defense, right, have to be comfortable with those guys coming in as well. So the last couple of days in practicing, we just mix and match. Hey, you're down. Next guy up,
Have you done more of that this
Yeah,
year?
you have to. And I think that's just going forward. I mean, with this portal, people coming in, hey, man, you got to get them ready to rock and roll. We don't have a whole lot of time for that. We got to still develop our young guys and bring them along the way. But, yeah, so to answer your question, we got to mix and match. So tomorrow's scrimmage, we're going to have guys who the threes are going to come up, go with some of the twos. The ones are going to go down with the twos. We're going to mix and match and get that chemistry right.
Coach, you kind of mentioned kind of the importance of the summer and really the time that you get to spend with your guys as a group, and kind of also the new challenges that the off-season features. Kind of what is there something that you can attribute to that helps you find success in building a cohesive unit now, especially with bringing in so many guys from different places?
Well, you got to do your homework. I mean, the one thing that I think sometimes the guys don't know, that most coaches know each other, right? And so before we go out and we get guys from other universities, I'm going to make some calls to make sure to see, what is the reason why these individuals are leaving? Is it, most guys that I want an opportunity to play. You know what I'm saying? And those are guys we want. You got to get, culture, You bring in people into your company, do they fit your culture, right? And I think the guys that we brought in all over defense, this whole team, they fit the culture of IU, right? And don't care who gets the credit, And like I said, this summer, man, it's been one summer I haven't get one call about something off the field. It's the first time in a long time. Whether it's missing academics, haven't had that. So these guys have fit our culture, they fit our room, they know the expectation. Now, because there are a lot of new guys in there, you got to go back and let those guys know what the standard is. And once you set the standard stays. And don't care who it is. And so those are things we had to kind of get back, and I had to be kind of more the guy to set it, unlike in the past when you have your seniors who have been here for a long time, that old process. So that's pretty much the biggest difference.
You kind of alluded to it there, but when you have so many new faces, and obviously, player leadership is so important when you're out there on the field, in the middle of the game. How do you kind of develop or find the guys to step into these leadership roles when you have so many new faces?
Well, a lot of it's just DNA. You know a pit bull from a poodle, right? And so from that, then you just develop. You put them in situations where they can lead, right? You set the standard of how you want it to be said, right? And then you give them an opportunity to do it. And you keep fostering, how can we get better? So this is what you said when this guy messed up, right? How can we be a better teammate? Sometimes we got to hit the gas and go hard, and then sometimes we got to say, hey, whoa. This is what we need, right? So the first thing is I got to set a clear standard for them. And once I set it, then I give them opportunities when I'm gone, vacation or whatever the case may be, when I'm not here, when we're traveling, to go ahead and be that leader. So, that's what I've done.
Have you seen that leadership from specific, who have you seen kind of step up in those roles so far?
You know what? One guy who I think just guys respect is Kobe Minor. I think he's a guy that he's gonna do the job that he's asked to do. He'll step up when he needs to do it. But then also too, he's also a guy who's gonna put his hand around there. The guy's got to be family too now. And then also too, on the flip side, when he's not where he's supposed to be, he can take criticism as well. And I think that's where you get the culture you need to get to, and that's where we got to go. So he's one of the guys. Nick Toomer, transferred from Stanford, he does a great job. He played a lot in the Pac-12. You know what I mean? So he's done a great job, and so we just got to keep building those young guys as well.
Yeah, you talk about just building that depth and needing some of the 2s and 3s to play. Have there been any, younger guys that have stood out to you that you feel are kind of pushing to kind of create that depth behind some of the
Yeah,
older guys?
James Mons has done a good job this spring or this fall camp. Also, Jordan Shaw has done a good job. I mean, for a guy who is coming from high school, and learning all these things, JoJo, he's got all the talent. I mean, I'm really, really excited about these guys. I mean, they've all have done kind of what I thought they should do. I mean, JoJo Johnson, he keeps showing up. You know what I mean? Does a great job, physical in the run. So I'm pretty confident about the guys that go out there. We just got to tighten some things up, get our checks all the way 100, and understand just with football. It ain't Madden. You know what I mean? How offensive coordinator's going to try to attack you, right? And that's where we're at right now.
It's just, sorry, more of a philosophical question, but you're talking about getting guys updated with terminology and things. Again, I'm not saying you've never worked with transfers, but you've had a lot of guys who you got as freshmen. They came up, they played a lot of football for you. What's different? Is it harder? Is it easier to almost unlearn some things with a transfer who maybe when you talk about whether it's terminology or the way something's taught on defense, they've already got sort of that experience at the college level as opposed to a freshman where maybe on the one hand they're obviously a lot younger, but on the other hand you kind of start from zero with them conceptually.
Well, the crazy thing about it, you got freshmen that are coming in at zero. You got transfers coming in who, a guy like Nick Toomer who play a lot, for Stanford. And the thing about him, he's such an intelligent young man that we just got to learn what I call 2x2, they might have called duo, or whatever the case may be, right? And so once you kind of get them in that train of thought, similar to, like as, that's what I try to do. What do they call it there? Okay, so let's put it in this. And so we get these groupings. So what we try to do to make it easier, we put our calls in groupings. So whenever it is a car, right, this is what you have. And so that's kind of how you help those guys. And then, it is a challenge, though. It is a challenge because, they've been developed by another coach who may be more, intentional about certain things that I'm not about. So it is a deal, but that's where you got to do your due diligence beforehand, right? Those Zoom calls. Tell me what you learned out there. Okay, and so that's kind of how that process starts when we all over the country trying to find guys. Okay, do they do things that are similar to us? He does. All right, so then how do we kind of group it when they get here? And then, the way we do our install, they'll see it, 4 times before they play September 2nd. So you just keep, just repeating it, and then finally it sticks in.
You mentioned the connections. What connections did you have with Nick and Jameer trying to get them out of the transfer portal, and how'd you kind of get on them and see from them that you targeted those guys?
Well, Nick recruited out of high school, out of Atlanta, so we were really, really good with his parents, and we recruited him very, very hard. And he chose Stanford. He wanted to get into the medical field, and we understood that. And over the years, I recruited Atlanta, and his parents were just always good to us, always, just watch us from afar. And then when he had that opportunity, they reached out. And they asked if we had a spot, and that's usually how it typically goes. You know what I mean? When it talks about Jameer, right? He got in the portal, and you get a hold of him, and then you just ask them like what their thoughts, how were they raised, beliefs, and then we go out there and you meet Mama, you understand like she fits what we are, she believes in discipline, she believes in hard work, when I met her she was working from home, you know what I mean, grinding. So that means he was raised in that same type of atmosphere. He grew up watching Mom getting up and grinding. So then when he gets here and we got to practice in the morning time, that ain't nothing new, right? So you get guys who believe in the same things that you believe in. Hard work, toughness, right? And then also, too, they got to know you love them. When these guys transferred and they're an older age, but I'm going to tell you one thing that holds true. I don't care how old you are. Everybody needs to feel love, right? Give love, right? No matter what you do. And they know when it's real. Right? And so when you can do that, you can make something special. I'm going to hold you to a certain standard. But there's never a day when you're going to walk out of my office, you say, that coach don't love me. Whether it's school, right? I'm big on school. So you don't go to class, I'm going to get on you. Why? Because football one day will end, right? And you'll have a family, and you'll have those things that I expect you to do. I expect you to be a good citizen. Do what you're supposed to do, right? And it starts right here. So, and I think after you kind of do your due diligence, you go to people's homes, you see kind of that structure, right? You'll see, you'll know.